Thank you, delegates. If you could please take your seats. As I had mentioned before, we're going to, before I ask the Candidatures Committee to report on the new council, we are going to have the motion. It's on the screen, and I would ask the delegate from Canada to please put forward her motion again.
Thank you, Madam President. The motion reads, whereas there is agreement in this General Assembly on the significance of climate change impact and disasters, and whereas the protection of our cultural heritage truly cannot wait, and whereas the presentations of this morning pointed to several areas in which efforts might be directed, therefore this General Assembly directs the Council of ICCROM to take into consideration the comments of the member states with respect to climate change, disaster, and cultural heritage, and integrate this important topic into the strategic directions which are currently under development.
Thank you. The motion will require a delegate to second the motion. Do I have someone who will do that? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Mexico. In order to carry this, we are going to have a vote by hand unless there is a debate on the issue. So I opened it to you. Is there a debate on the motion? I see no one raising their hand. Could I have a show of hands, those who support the motion, please? Those abstaining? And those opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. I would now ask that the chairperson of the Candidatures Committee come forward to the podium to inform the General Assembly of the results of the election and composition of the new council.
The following list are the members of council elected by the 29th General Assembly 2015 for a term ending with the closure of the 31st General Assembly in 2019. In alphabetical order, Abdulaziz Al-Musalam Al-Hadi, Yongyi Chung, Florencia Gear, Micaela Hansen, Munder Hamhawi, Waturu Cabanove, Patricia Kell, Marila Bandier, Anne Newhamar, Zoe Reed, Riyad Hadi Said, Mohammed Hassan Lebian.
I ask all of the new council members that have just been named to please stand and be acknowledged by the General Assembly. I congratulate all the countries that presented a candidate to council, and I wish the new members of council very well, and I thank you very much. And I thank the Candidatures Committee and the chairperson of the committee for all their work over the last number of days, as well as to the Credentials Committee. I have to say, the day before yesterday, thank you to both committees. And before I move on, I'd like to call the chair of council to say a few words about the outgoing members of council who are leaving us, and she will say a few words in that regard.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. J'aimerais remercier très profondément les collègues du Conseil dont les fonctions prennent fin aujourd'hui. Et j'aimerais même leur demander de bien vouloir se lever quand je donnerai leur nom. D'abord, 3 collègues du Conseil quittent ce Conseil après 8 années passées en son sein. Blanca Norton, qui a présidé la Committee of Candidature. Elena Korka, pour la Grèce. Et Luis de Souza. Et les collègues qui nous quittent après 4 ans, Mourad Betrouni, Khaled Kawi, Young Han Kim, Gunilla Laneslo, Qianglu pour la Chine. Et Orisia Luciak, qui a en outre accepté la présidence de l'Assemblée générale. Et je souhaite enfin souhaiter la très bienvenue aux nouveaux membres du Conseil. Nous avons beaucoup de travail pour le service de l'Assemblée générale et des décisions et déclarations qui ont été prises et faites aujourd'hui.
Thank you very much. We are now going to move on to agenda item number 23 in preparation for the next General Assembly in 2017. This is your opportunity to make any comments that you would like in regard to the agenda, and most specifically, I had asked you the other day if you could give us, and some of you have already, so those perhaps that haven't spoken up to the issue in regard to the thematic session, did you enjoy it? Would you like the new council to work on another thematic session? Some of you have already stated your viewpoints, and we have recorded that. And are there any other issues or proposals that you'd like to make about the upcoming draft agenda for 2 years hence? So I open it generally to the floor. If there are no comments, I am assuming by the very positive response to the thematic discussions that you, from what I heard over the last 2 days, that is something that perhaps you'd like Council to consider over the next period of time. If there are, I'm sure that Council would be very open to having you emailing them and putting forward any proposals that you have in this regard or any suggestions. And of course, you have the opportunity to fill out your evaluation and let us know what can be done differently or for the next General Assembly. Director General, do you have any comments you'd like to make on before I go to the next item? No. Therefore, I am going to move to the next item, which is the election of ICCROM representatives to the United Nations Joint Staff Pension Fund. Ms. Yanovsky, I'm not sure if it is Ms. Yanovsky. I'm not sure if it is the United Sharon that will be presenting, or I will. Okay, thank you. The Council is proposing Mr. Robert Merkel from the United States of America and Mr. Caio Flavio de Noronha e Raimundo from Brazil, I'm sorry about that, respectively as a member and alternate member to the United Nations Joint Pension Fund Committee of ICCROM for a period of 2 years ending at the time of the next General Assembly of ICCROM member states in November 2017. If there is no discussion, I believe we can have a vote of acclamation in this regard. So I open it to the floor. Therefore, the General Assembly at its 29th session concurs with the proposal of the Council and approves the election of Mr. Robert Merkel for the United States of America as member and Mr. Caio Flávio de Noronha e Raimundo from Brazil as alternate member of the UN Joint Pension Fund Committee of ICCROM for a period of 2 years, ending at the time of the next General Assembly of ICCROM member states in November 2017. I thank both of you for your future service. Thank you. Item 25 is other business, so it is my duty to ask all of you if there is or there are any items of discussion that you'd like to raise at this time. If not, we move to item 26, which is the adoption of the report setting forth the decisions of this Assembly. I'm wondering, is this going to be done by the Director General, by Joe? Mr. King, if you could come forward. They just require a 5-minute time period in order to get those put together. So I'm going to just say a few words about tomorrow for the new council members while we're doing that. For those of you who have just been elected to council, it's very important. You're going to have an informal meeting of all of the new council members immediately after the final session, and it will be in this room. Whereabouts? Somewhere here? Somewhere over here. And your first meeting will be tomorrow at the ICCROM offices, and you will be given the information in terms of the address and the time that the meeting will start, from my understanding. And Madame Le Vendrier will provide you with that information immediately after. Also, while I'm waiting for that, please do not forget to fill out your evaluation forms, which have been inserted into your document bags. If you're not doing it online, they should be in your bags, and ensure that the forms are completed or that you do it electronically and provide it to the reception desk. So that would be very helpful if you could do that. And we'll just take a slight pause and wait for Mr. King. Thank you. If I could have your attention, and we will proceed with this agenda item now. If you could take your places, thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Director General. Based on the decisions that you as a General Assembly have taken over the last 3 days, I'd like to go through, as we've done in past years, the report of the decisions and to find out, if there's anything that was incorrect or not reported correctly, to get if you have any comment on that. So I'll start immediately. This is the report of the decisions of ICCROM's, the 29th session of ICCROM's General Assembly. The first item that required a decision was Agenda Item 3, election of the President and 3 Vice Presidents to the 29th session of the General Assembly. And the decisions are: the General Assembly unanimously elected the proposed candidate, Orisia Luchak, Canada, as President of its 29th session. Actually, this is a little bit too big. So let me reduce it. All right. Is that still visible, I hope? To its 29th to its 29th session. So that's 3.1. 3.2, the General Assembly unanimously elected the 3 proposed candidates for the vice presidency of the 29th session: Valerie Magar, Mexico; John Kimaro, United Republic of Tanzania; and Nagi Saleh Thwawaba, Yemen. Excuse me if I mispronounce any of the names that are going to be coming on in the future. So that's that's Agenda Item 3. Agenda Item 4, election of the committees. 4.1, the General Assembly unanimously elected the following 5 candidates proposed by Council to the Credentials Committee for its 29th session: Rob Merkel, United States of America, Chair; Patricia Kell, Canada; Wataru Kawanobe, Japan; Hana Kosonen Garen, Norway; and Victor Dan Kisilus, Romania. 4.2, the General Assembly unanimously elected the following 5 candidates proposed by the Council for the Committee on Candidatures to the Council for its 29th session: Blanca Niño Norton, Guatemala, Chair; Gayan Kaznati, Armenia; Salman Al-Mahari, Bahrain; Aneli Randla, Estonia; and Kourosh Jafari, Islamic Republic of Iran. Agenda Item 5, acceptance of observers. The General Assembly unanimously accepted the observers invited to its 29th session of the General Assembly. Agenda Item 6, welcome to new member states. The General Assembly welcomed the following new member, and that should actually be member state, because there's only one, to ICCROM, the Russian Federation. Agenda Item 7, adoption of the provisional agenda. 7.1, the General Assembly unanimously adopted the provisional agenda document GA29/1, Rev, without change. Agenda Item 8, ICCROM Award. The General Assembly welcomed the presentation of the ICCROM Award to Dr. Weber Ndoro, Director of the Africa World Heritage Fund. Agenda Item 10, report of the Credentials Committee. The General Assembly unanimously adopted the report of the Credentials Committee and agreed that the following member states, which sent their credentials by fax, would be allowed to vote on an exceptional basis in accordance with Rules 16 and 48.1 of the Rules of Procedure of the General Assembly, having assured the Credentials Committee that the originals of their credentials would be forthcoming. Those member states are Afghanistan, Cuba, Guatemala, Iraq, Senegal, and Togo. Agenda item 11, report on assessed contributions in arrears. That is the application of Article 9 of the statutes. The General Assembly noted that the following member states, for which the total amount of their contribution to ICCROM that have fallen due and that have not been paid exceed the amount of the contributions payable by the member states for the current calendar year and immediately preceding calendar year, have lost their right to vote in the General Assembly and their right to propose candidates for membership of the Council. Those countries are Benin, Honduras, Madagascar, and Malawi. 10.2. The General Assembly noted the following member states which have omitted to pay their contributions that have fallen due during 4 consecutive calendar years have ceased to be entitled to receive any service from ICCROM. Those member states are Mozambique, Senegal, and Zambia. 10.3. Taking note of the intervention of the delegate of Venezuela and recognizing the existence of special circumstances beyond the member states' control, the General Assembly, by a majority of those present and voting, decided to waive the application of Article 9 of the statutes for Venezuela, which has omitted to pay its contributions that have fallen due during 4 consecutive calendar years. 10.4. Taking note of information provided by the Secretariat about contacts with the member state of Mauritania and recognizing the existence of special circumstances beyond the member state's control, the General Assembly, by majority of those present and voting, decided to waive the application of Article 9 of the statutes for Mauritania, which has omitted to pay its contributions that have fallen due during 6 consecutive calendar years. Agenda item number 12, adoption of the minutes of the 28th session of the General Assembly. The General Assembly unanimously adopted the minutes of the 28th session of the General Assembly as recorded in document GA28/min. Agenda item 13, report of the Committee on Candidatures for the Council. 13.1, the General Assembly unanimously adopted the report of the Committee on Candidatures for the Council and declared the following persons as candidates for the ICCROM Council. Would the General Assembly allow me to just roll by these names rather than reading all of them out one by one? I hope that that would be acceptable. Madam Chair, is that acceptable to you? Yes? Okay. (13.2) The General Assembly, by a vote of 18 in favor, 43 against, and 8 abstentions, decided not to reopen the report of the Candidatures Committee for further discussion. Item 16, ICCROM's report of the Secretariat and of the Council. 12.1, the General Assembly unanimously adopted the oral report of the Chairperson of the ICCROM Council and the following financial reports. PricewaterhouseCoopers SPA Special Purpose Financial Statement from 1 January 2012 to 31 December 2013. That is document GA29/6. ICCROM Financial Statement as at 31 December 2014, document GA29/7. Agenda item 17, report on the implementation of the program 2014-2015. The General Assembly unanimously approved document GA29/9, the report on implementation of the program 2014-2015. Agenda item 18, provisional program and budget 2016-2017 and approval by the General Assembly. Item 18.1, the General Assembly unanimously approved the budget appropriation resolution as proposed in document GA29/10, section D, and it would be 3.3. You can't see it on the screen, but that's what it is. As follows. The General Assembly authorizes the Director General to implement the program outlined in the program and budget 2016-2017. Approves the contribution budget to be provided by the member states in the amount of €7,382,090 based on a principle of zero increase, that is zero nominal growth, ZNG. And point 3, approves the scale of assessment of member states of ICCROM for the biennium 2016-2017 based on the scale of assessment adopted by the United Nations General Assembly for the years 2013, 2014, 2015, and adapted to ICCROM's specific requirements to take into account the difference in membership between the two organizations in order to derive ICCROM's scale of 100%. New member states, or new members, depositing their instruments of ratification after 30 September 2015, the date of preparation of the assessments for 2016-2017 biennium, shall be assessed in accordance with the same formula to derive the scale of assessment. Agenda item 21, Statement of Delegates and Observers. 21.1. Whereas there is agreement that this General Assembly in this General Assembly on the significance of climate change impact and disasters, and whereas the protection of our cultural heritage truly cannot wait, and whereas the presentations of this morning pointed to several areas in which efforts might be directed, therefore, this General Assembly directs the Council of ICCROM to take into consideration the comments of the member states with respect to climate change, disaster, and cultural heritage, and integrate this important topic into the strategic directions which are currently under development. Agenda item 22, results of the election, new members of Council. 22.1, the General Assembly declared the following candidates for Council duly elected. And again, Madam Chair, if you will allow me, I'll just show the names on the screen. Item number 24, election of ICCROM representatives to the United Nations Joint Staff Pension Fund. The General Assembly approved the following persons as ICCROM members of the UN Joint Staff Pension Fund: Robert Merkel, United States of America, and Flavio Noronha e Raimundo from Brazil as alternate. Yes. Caio Flavio, excuse me, and I actually even know that because I know him. Please accept my apologies. I think the cut and paste there was an error. I will correct that. Thanks. And finally, on agenda item 26, which is the adoption of the report setting forth the decisions of the 29th General Assembly, item 26.1, the General Assembly unanimously approves the report of the 29th General Assembly. I leave this in yellow because, of course, it is up to you, the General Assembly, to either adopt this report or not adopt this report. So I signal it as yellow because it is something that you also have to decide on. So that is the report at this time, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Delegates, you have the opportunity now to comment or correct any changes noted before I ask for your approval. If none, I would ask that for the approval of the delegates of this record, and if you could do so. Are we voting with this?
Okay. R-A-I. Ha. Well, I am now really embarrassed by this. I apologize. Okay, so it's not corrected.
Okay. If you could please utilize this object and vote. Your approval is 1, abstention 2, rejection 3. Vote now, please. Could I close the vote, please? Thank you. It comes time to close the General Assembly, and I have a few words before we do so. First of all, I want to take this opportunity to thank the Director General and all of the staff of ICCROM, including the interns, the fellows, the volunteers, all of whom have taken and worked so diligently to plan, organize, and ensure that the General Assembly runs effectively. And they are all there. Could you? I would also like to thank the interpreters. They have worked very patiently over the past 3 days, and they have provided excellent service. I'd also like to thank all the messengers who have assisted us today. I would also like to thank the rapporteur, an incredible job as always. I'd like to thank the vice presidents that served over the past 3 days. And I'd especially give my warm thanks to our Chairperson of Council, Ms. Marie Lavandrier, I did a lot of hard work over the past 2 years and during this Assembly. And I also want to acknowledge and thank the 2 Vice Presidents of the Bureau, Ms. Sharon Park and Ms. Britta Rudolph, and to all the members of the Council. You have worked very hard. Finally, I would like to thank you delegates, all of you here, and in my capacity now as a former member of Council, it has indeed been an honor and a privilege to work with such a talented group of people. Thank you all for appointing me as the President of the 29th General Assembly. Your cooperation and your kindness has been much appreciated, especially coming back on time. I'm going to miss this.
Not this one.
I wish ICCROM great success as it moves forward with its strategic objectives. You know, its success lies with the full commitment of all member states. Let us remember that. I wish you all a safe journey home, and may we all reconvene in 2 years for the 30th General Assembly. I now declare the 29th General Assembly closed.